The Phoenix Suns make a long-rumored trade. LeBron James opens up about his mindset in the midst of a Lakers slump. The Celtics have a rock-bottom loss, and Adam Silver admits it. The NBA has a problem with three-pointers. That's all today on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com today to get started. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets, and your Shot Clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories with the help of Locked On's local experts. And with me are two of Locked On's premier national NBA experts from the Locked On Nuggets podcast and senior NBA writer for the Action Network. We've got Matt Moore, and from the Locked On Bulls podcast, it's Hayes. Matt Hayes, the Phoenix Suns, they make a trade. They dealt Josh Okogie and 3 second-round picks in exchange for Hornets backup center Nick Richards and 3 second-round picks. Could this have larger implications for the Suns trade that everybody else would like to talk about, the pursuit of Jimmy Butler? We'll get to that in just a moment. But first, let's just get stretched out here. Let's loosen up our trade-grade muscles before the actual deadline. Matt, how did both of these teams do?
You know, I think for the Suns, it's probably a B. They moved Nurkic out of the starting lineup, and that's like the bigger talking point here is like what's going to happen with Nurk. And so adding Nick Richards, who is not a perfect center, but he's one of those guys you take a shot on like the Mavericks did with Gafford and with PJ Washington. And I think Richards is below that tier, right? But it's a very good option. It gives you another kind of capability to have a center a little bit more versatile, a little bit more athletic, I think is part of the key that they wanted to get to here. Has some real offensive bursts, which I think can help them. I'm not sure it helps on the defensive side. But I think overall, like that's a pretty good value for what they gave up. Now they're running out of seconds, which is a problem. They didn't get like a high caliber rotation player, and they didn't, they still had to give up picks. So I think like a B, but it's fine. It addressed that. For the Hornets, I think it's totally okay to do this. Nick Richards probably isn't your future with Mark Williams with 31 and 10 last night. You got pretty good value out of him. Okogie's probably swappable again here before the deadline or in the summer. So I think they've got some options on Okogie as well. I will give it a B for both sides, Hayes.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's a solid deal for both sides. I think the Suns, with not having necessarily a lot of mobility in what they can do with their roster because they're so far over the second tax apron, this is a solid enough deal for them. I look at this and I say it's good. It adds another body, which they can need. They need some size there. So I don't hate the deal for either teams. I think that this is just a solid trade where both teams get a little bit of what they need.
Yeah, the Hornets as an organization continuing to get smaller deals done. The question is, can they make the big deal eventually? But at least for now, we know the Hornets are open for business. Let's go to Locked On Suns for their take on Nick Richards and then on what it means for a potential deal for Jimmy Butler.
Nick Richards is the spare tire. And right now, Mason Plumlee and Yusuf Nurkic are pop tires.
He is exactly the type of center that can be a lob threat, can be a deterrent, at a big body in the right spots around the rim, and can rebound. And that will be a step up from what was the worst center rotation in the NBA to closer to passable. I am pretty close to out on Butler.
Out on the player or out on the potential that it could happen?
Out on doing it if I'm the Sun. Like, my opinion,
Okay.
I just wouldn't do it. I'm not blowing it up, and I'm not trying to go get Jimmy. So I'm kind of trying to do this middle road. And I just think you have to be realistic about how much more you're willing to invest in this team with the glimmer in your eye that a reset is going to be the first thing we're talking about the moment they get eliminated from the playoffs if it gets ugly again.
Hayes, are you reading anything into this deal as it relates to a possible pursuit of Jimmy Butler? And then also just talking off that clip there, should the Suns give up their pursuit of Jimmy Butler and work towards unwinding their current situation?
No, I mean, I think they should still work towards pursuing Jimmy Butler. If that's the player that they feel like is going to help them get out this mess that they are in, I'm not saying I necessarily agree with that, but if that's the way that they view it, they should be pursuing them. I don't know if this move sets up anything because it still comes down to is Bradley Beal going to waive that no trade clause or not. But I think ultimately, like whatever, if that's their pursuit, whatever helps them get there, they should go after it with everything that they have.
Usually these moves are made with kind of a dual directive, right? So it's, hey, we got a better center to our rotation to what the Suns, Locked On Suns are calling the worst center. Ouch, for Mason Nurk. That helps, but here's the other thing is, okay, so now you have Nurkic's contract, and they've had conversations with a number of other teams. I heard Orlando was interested in some conversations before the Nick Richards deal went down. So like now they could try and find somewhere to send Nurkic and some other assets, and whatever they get back, they can use to sweeten the deal for another team to take Bradley Beal. So like that's possible. This might just be all that they do. Ultimately, like I am unsure of how the Suns get from A to B, which is like where they're at now to the contender they thought they were going to be. And if that's the case, you need to start thinking about a total blow up. Like if you are that far away that you're like, no, Jimmy Butler won't help us, you got to start reevaluating everything. If you think you're close, then that changes it. And you can probably still be like, yeah, we're close. We don't need Jimmy Butler. I get not wanting Butler. I don't think there's any reason for them to do this deal. They're just the only team that's ever had any interest in taking on Butler at this point.
The Phoenix Suns, not the only organization that people are debating whether or not they should blow it all up and start over. That would go for the Los Angeles Lakers as well. The Lakers did get off the schneid last night in a 117-108 win, iced by LeBron James, 9 points in a close fourth quarter. Here's Locked On Lakers with more.
You could see something went up 20%, whatever it is, between the second quarter and the third quarter, and they decided what they decided to show me, show us, show everyone was, okay, we're not ready to quite just kind of give in on this season. They are not a wildly talented group. They are not a bad team, but like, you know, they don't have talent to spare all around the roster that they can just like kind of pace themselves or whatever. Their focus and their energy and their effort has to be high all the time. That's not easy to do.
It's not easy to do, particularly with the backdrop of the devastating wildfires in LA that are still being fought. LeBron James opened up about that situation after the game, saying this, quote, I have a couple of dear friends that have lost their homes in the Palisades. Obviously, my heart goes out to all the families all across not only the Palisades, but all across LA County and all the surrounding areas because of the fire. My family, we've been evacuated since Thursday night, so I've been in a hotel since pretty much when we got back from Dallas. It's been a lot of emotions, kind of been off. Personally, I've been off. I've just been completely off for obvious reasons, unquote. Head coach JJ Redick also lost the home that he was renting. So I don't really know what my question is off of this, except maybe like how much should we factor things like this into our evaluation of where this Lakers team is and what they'll be capable of several months from now, Matt?
I think ultimately it's probably the best course of action to just give everybody some empathy. One of the issues, though, is yes, the LA players are located there, so they have a little bit more of a firm thing there. But if you listen around, like other players around the NBA are openly speaking about how distracted they are because they all have homes there. Like I don't know how many NBA players don't have a home in LA, and so it's affecting everybody because they have stuff that they're missing. I think it's difficult because the business of the NBA has to continue or doesn't have to, but we choose to say that it has to continue. And so there's a difficult line here between empathy and results. And I was listening to Lakers Lounge with Anthony Irwin, and he was very upset because he's like, you had an opportunity to step up for the city after one of their horrible losses, and instead you just completely got demolished. And I don't think that that's fair because it's like you can't really ask them to be an avatar for the city just because the Rams were for a night. It's just different situations. I don't know how to kind of balance this. I think that mostly the best option is probably to be like, let's just put a 2-week buffer around this period and then reevaluate. The Lakers have been up and down. They're still going to be up and down. And that's maybe the big thing here is that's kind of who they are. They're going to be up and down regardless of what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, the Lakers are going to be up and down team regardless. I think we touched on that a little bit. But I mean, what's going on, you have to feel for, absolutely. But I do think asking a team to be, as Matt said, the avatar for all that, just it's not what needs to happen right now. The Lakers are going to take some time. They're going to find their groove, but they're going to be a wildly inconsistent team for the rest of the season anyway. Unless they make a move, they're going to be inconsistent.
The Golden State Warriors also got a close win over the Minnesota Timberwolves, and Steph Curry after the game, he said he would also like some more time. Quote, all the Twitter fingers who got deals that we need to make can kind of shut up a little bit and let us figure this thing out, unquote. Matt's rolling his eyes as he flexes his Twitter fingers.
Exactly. Locked On Heat host and Locked On NBA host Wes Goldberg had a great column yesterday for Fansided where he said the Warriors don't need to worry about their future because they don't have one. And it was one of the best things I think I've read. And I'm totally agree.
Ouch. Pretty sick burn. I don't know if it's as sick as the things that John Corrales of Locked On Celtics had to say about Boston's loss to the Toronto Raptors. We're going to get that. A lot of teams played last night. We're going to play a game of Gimme More. And Adam Silver addresses the three-point problem in the NBA. That's all ahead today on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Today's episode is also brought to you by Skims. When I found out that Skims was making underwear for men, I was intrigued, to say the least. I've heard so much about their quality from friends and family, and now their men's line offers the same comfort and style that they're known for. If you've ever struggled with finding the right underwear, whether it's fit, comfort, or just that right style, Skims has you covered. Their men's line includes options for everyone, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. The Skims Stretch 5-inch boxer brief is a great choice for an active lifestyle. They're designed to move with you, stay in place all day, and never lose their shape. Whether you're working out or running errands, you'll love how lightweight and comfortable they feel, almost like you're wearing nothing at all. Shop Skims Men's at skims.com/lockedonnba and Skims stores. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Your favorite NBA team has a free daily newsletter. Go to LockedOnDaily.com, subscribe, and stay up to date with local expert analysis and amazing writing from people like Katie Heindel, Mike Shear, and Locked On Fantasy Basketball tips from Josh Lloyd. Okay, 22 teams played last night. Lots of amazing NBA product, but I'm greedy. I want more. So let's play Gimme More, and we'll start with Hayes. More impressive, Clippers winning by 59 over the Nets, or Ja's dunk that didn't count over Victor Wembanyama?
If you think I'm ever going to say give me more anything with the Clippers, you just don't know me too well. Give me more of Ja's dunk.
Clippy!
The dunk over Wemby. Like, I get it. I know that it didn't count, but that was still just an amazing, amazing feat. And Ja, who recently, earlier in the season, just a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, we talked about Ja saying he wasn't going to dunk anymore. I'm glad that that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, look, that Ja's dunk was, I was on a stream on that on League Pass, and like the sounds that came out of my mouth, I do not know where they came from. They came from a place beyond time and space. It was unbelievable. Actually, you want to know what was more impressive? Keaton Wallace filling in for the Hawks and dropping 27, 6-6 in a Hawks win over Hayes' Bulls. No Trae Young, no Jalen Johnson. Keaton Wallace steps in as starter, goes 27, 6-6 in a runaway 16-point win for the Hawks.
I thought we were friends, Matt. I thought we were friends.
You thought wrong, friend.
I didn't have this one in the rundown, but more robbed the NBA fans in general of that jaw dunk not counting, or the Dallas Mavericks on that goaltend call that wasn't a goaltend call that cost them the game.
I gotta say the Mavericks fans, because the NBA actually the NBA got community noted on Twitter for posting the highlights. When people be like, "This is a textbook goaltending violation," and then they had to delete it. Yeah, I'll say the Mavericks. That was a rough night for a team that's without a bunch of talent.
All right, let's move on. More in need of moving boxes because they need to pack it in after their losses last night. The Philadelphia 76ers or the San Antonio Spurs. Hayes, we'll start with you.
Philadelphia 76ers. I've so much and so often just waited for this team to be able to wake up and actually start doing something where at some point you just got to realize it's just dead. It's dead. Do they still have time technically to turn things around? Yes. But if you're talking about that they need to pack it in, it's time for them to pack it in. I have no idea why the 76ers team just can't get going. I get the injuries are one thing and all that, but it's something more going on there. And I hope that they figure it out, because there's no reason why they should be the 11th seed right now in the Eastern Conference on the outside looking in from the play-in.
The vibes are bad with Philly. It's not just that it's oh yeah, we're injured. The Mavericks are mostly just yeah, it sucks, but we're injured. The Sixers, everyone's yeah, this is just not working. It's bad. However, I will actually say, you want to know who needs to pack it in? I'm not going to fit inside your tight boxes, Doug Branson. I'm going outside these. I'm going to the Minnesota Timberwolves. You lost at home to a Warriors team with no future. You lost in a team game where you basically trailed the entire time. The Wolves have enough talent for them to make a run in the Western Conference, but they're going to have to make some trades. They don't need to pack it up and send it in for the season, but they do need to start packing up pieces and sending them out and reconfigure the squad. This team is too good. Anthony Edwards is too good. Rudy Gobert is too good. There's a core of a very good team in there, but they got to reconfigure this thing and make some more moves to get to be the team that they need to be by the time that we hit April.
You mentioned the vibes being off in Philly. What do you pin that on most? I mean, is it the availability of Joel Embiid? Is it Paul George's lackluster performance? Is some of this on Nurse? Where do you land on that?
Let's imagine a world where everybody was healthy, right? And they're able to go through training camp and they get the chemistry down and they understand they know they can identify the problems and understand them in kind of a vacuum controlled environment. So you can be all right, we need to do this and this, and these guys need to play with these ones, and Nurse has a little bit more control. But the other thing I hear is that there continues to be a lot of frustration with how much Nick Nurse wants them to practice. I don't know how you blame him, because you're not connected, because nobody's been available. So he wants to work on things. And that tension is causing, I think, a lot of problems here. The players aren't happy with the coaches. The coaches aren't happy with the players. Embiid's not happy, I think, with just I have a lot of empathy for Embiid this season, because it just seems like he's reckoning with how much he can't do this physically. And that sucks when the spirit's willing and the body's unable. PG's getting older, doesn't really know how to fit in. He thought he didn't want to leave LA, but now he's here. It's just a mess. There's no connectivity. You got to get on the same wavelength. The vibes do matter. I can break down the metrics and the X's and O's all I want, but at the end of the day, you have to be a connected team 1 through 10, and they're not. And until they repair that, they're still going to look a little bit broken.
Hayes, what do you think? I mean, the boos are raining down in their home games. Is this team constructed? Shocker. Yeah, it's Philly, right? I mean, is this team constructed to sort of deal with that kind of demoralization?
I mean, no, I don't think that they are. And I think that it's getting to the guys like that. That's why I said they have to figure out a lot that's going on wrong with this team. It's more than just roster. Of course, that plays a part into it. Age plays a part into it as well. They had a little bit of fun with McCain. Of course, he's down and out now. The Philadelphia 76ers are going to have to take a very hard look at what they can do to improve this team realistically as the season goes on, maybe at the trade deadline, maybe not to the end of the season. But, yeah, we know how Philly is. Philly will boo anybody, much less a team that is playing at the way that the 76ers are right now. It's going to be ugly in Philly.
Sixers stars concerned about how much they're practicing. Where have I heard that before? I can't remember. Time is a flat circle.
Practice? Practice?
All right, let's move on. The Boston Celtics are still second in the Eastern Conference, but they've had a number of losses and close calls that has called into question their ability to repeat as champions, none more so than last night's loss to the 9-win Toronto Raptors. Let's kick it out to John Corrales of Locked On Celtics.
This was supposed to be like a game where they learn their lesson, for lack of a better term. We've seen them lose to the Kings, struggle to beat the Pelicans. You go to Porzingis afterwards. He was not happy. He said that they lacked spirit and personality. They're going through some stuff right now, and it's a crappy feeling. I'm cleaning up their comments, but kind of along those lines. Maybe this is a rock bottom loss, not because just of how they played, but I think everybody understands that this one felt different. This one felt like they didn't even care. Like they didn't even care to try in the second half. Not even just the second half, by the way. That long stretches of the first half were awful. There's just a part of me that was watching this game like, come on, guys, come on.
All right, Matt, we'll start with you. I know you've had concerns about the Celtics for several weeks now, but did this loss just feel different, like John said there?
Not really. Here's the key, is that in previous seasons when they were not shooting well, they were like, oh, we're not shooting well. We got to buckle down and play some defense, and then we'll beat this Raptors team, which is absolutely garbage. And instead, they're just like, maybe if we shoot more, and that's like all they have. And this is the thing, is what's actually bad for the NBA is that this stretch might get the Celtics to refocus. It might get them on the same page. As I want to do, I will swerve and go the other way when everyone's like, oh, the Celtics, who could possibly stop them? They're rolling through the East. And I'm like, no, they have some problems. Now I'll just tell you, like, look, if this causes them to correct those things, then Boston will be the team that everybody was saying about them while they actually weren't as good as what the record says. They're adjusting, I think, back down a little bit in those categories. The Celtics fans are pointing out a lot that they're just in a cold stretch of shooting, but this is the point. Shooting is ephemeral. It's a rhythm thing. It's everybody being connected and in the same kind of space, and it's very difficult. It's the hardest thing, I think, for NBA players to figure out and how to manage is like, how do you like create good rhythm for your shooting and get everybody's shots to go down? But that's where they're at. You have to be able to generate other things, and they're really struggling when they get away from the formula, which is shoot a bunch of threes, shoot a bunch of threes, shoot a bunch of threes. If they're not going in, they don't have these other kind of counters. Even when they've gone to the 2-point attempts, it's not working the way that it needs to. They got to refocus and kind of get a little bit more versatile. When they rebalance themselves, Hayes, I think they'll be back to the team that everybody's thought of them as. There's this question of, are you worried about the Celtics? It's not, should you worry that they're going to miss the playoffs or lose in the first round, but it's about how much of a contender are they? Are they clearly ahead of everybody? And my answer is no. They're ahead, but only by a little.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it sucks that John Corrales has not had an opportunity to call something else the best one of the season, because you know that's something that I love John. All jokes, I love John Corrales. Just had to throw that joke out there. But
A plus Hayes.
The Celtics are going to be fine in the long run. Like, are they going through a lull right now? Yes. Does it suck? It's a little bit concerning, but yeah, they have a little bit of buffer to kind of figure this out. There's still a lot of season left to be played. We're just at the halfway mark of the season, so I'm not too worried about the Celtics yet. Now, I will say, if this goes on until now to the end of January or something like that, then yeah, maybe time to be a little bit more concerned. But as of right now, I think the Celtics will be fine in the long run.
I just a little bit concerned that they're operating within sort of an old NBA idea of you build a dominant team and you can coast and then turn it on when you want to and still be able to contend or win a championship. But in this league that we're in now, where you've had 6 different champions over the last 6 years, like teams just sort of other teams can do that as well. And it can cause you problems.
I'm over-indexed on experience bias here. I'm really over-indexed because this is the thing. Everything that's happening to them, I saw happen to Denver. Dominant start out of the gate on opening night. Great run in the beginning. Who could possibly start? There's nothing stopping Denver from going back to back. Oh, there's some problems under the radar. Oh, no, they're coasting. They'll be fine. They look a little tired. Oh, no, they'll be fine when the playoffs come. All of it. Now, maybe they don't run into a Minnesota Timberwolves in the Eastern Conference. Maybe that doesn't happen to them. But I'm just telling you, All of this I saw last year with Denver. Every single piece of this.
I mentioned parity there. Adam Silver, talking to Colin Cowherd, talked about the parity in the league. He also talked about the uptick in three-point shots and mentioned what the NBA might do about it. That's ahead on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%, plus you also get 4% APY on your cash in non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Make sure you're checking out Locked On Game Night. Every game, every night. They're recapping it. They will recap tonight's matchup between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll get to that in just a second. But first, Adam Silver was interviewed by Colin Cowherd, and they touched on a number of topics, ranging from the NBA's relationship with college basketball to load management to ratings. But there's an interesting quote here on a topic that we've discussed a number of times on this show: three-point volume and the sameness of NBA offenses. Silver admitted that it has become an issue for a number of people, and while he did push back a little bit, he said this, quote, "As stewards of the game, Joe Dumars leads our competition committee. We will tweak it. We will correct those issues," unquote. Matt, what do you think about Adam Silver's words there that they are looking into this and will eventually make some tweaks?
It's a little bit of a shift from what they've actually said before, which is that they've done market research and there wasn't a problem with the 3-point rate. There's actually, I think, a really big problem here with the idea of the sameness. Jared Dubin's done a really good work on this, where it's like, if you just dive in, if you take any sort of serious look at it, these offenses are not the same. Like, they're just not. There's like a wide variety, but it feels the way that it's just all 3-pointers. I just hope they don't go too far. I hate the ideas that have been suggested. Changing the court structure that we've had since the beginning with the league feels awful to me. I'm not usually a traditionalist. I'm in favor of change. That feels awful to me. The idea of limiting the number of 3-pointers you can take feels ridiculous in terms of just like trying to basically handicap teams for being good at one area of it. If we go the other way and teams are too dominant in the paint, are we going to restrict those? I just feel like the key of this, and I've been on this, let the defenses fix it. If you want to fix it, that's how you tweak this, is you allow better perimeter defense. You remove some of the touch fouls. You allow defenders to be more aggressive in curtailing and containing on the perimeter. And if they don't have to help, then they won't leave open 3-point shooters. That's how you fix this. Help the defense. Don't make any drastic changes.
I agree with Matt here. You got to let the defense kind of figure this thing out. If you get your hands too far into it, like what are you doing? It's the part of the evolution of the game. It goes back and forth. The defense eventually adjusts, and then the defense will adjust that for a while. Things will even out, and then eventually offenses will figure out something new to do again, a different wrinkle in the game. That's just part of the natural evolution of basketball. Goes back and forth every 10, 15 years. There's something different that has to be done. So I don't think you want to try to get too cute here, for lack of a better term, and do too much, and just allow the coaches and allow the players to adjust to this over time. It's gonna fix itself eventually.
Yeah, I'll disagree a little bit here. I think they do need to do more than just bring back hand checks. I mean, I think that this change in how NBA offenses have operated has been a little bit radical, and I think it calls for maybe not enormous changes in how the court is structured, but some kind of change that would limit or devalue the 3-point shot a little bit and shake things up. And because I think the longer you let this go on, the more in danger you are of it just fundamentally transforming the sort of next generation of players that are coming up through.
If the Celtics don't win the title, if they lose because of the 3-point shooting, and OKC, who is 17th in 3-point shot distribution, wins, or if you get another team that's really good in terms of or Denver, who's dead last in that category, Houston 27th. Like, you do have these successful teams that aren't taking as many threes, Doug. So my question is, like, if we get to the end of the season and basically just Boston, if Boston doesn't win, like, won't it feel a little bit different?
I don't think so. I think there is a notion that just overall that the game is different. And I don't think that there's anything, I don't think small changes is going to dispel that notion. And what we're talking about here is a little bit of like perception versus reality, but perception is important when you're talking about bringing new fans into the game and keeping the fans that you already have.
That's what I think is tough, is like, you have to address something that might not be true. And that's what I kind of feel like is happening here with Silver, where he's kind of done not an about face, but he's shifting. It's just like the conversation has become such a talking point that the league's having to respond to it. And it almost becomes like, because we talk about it, it's more of a problem. I asked a bunch of like casual friends casual NBA friends, like, what's your biggest problem? And I asked like 8 of them. And one of them said 3-point shooting. He's like, they just all shoot threes and that's all they do. And I was like, how much do you watch? He's like, not much. I was like, okay. The rest of them were all like, oh no, it's load management. It's that I don't know who's going to play on any night. Why am I going to tune into a game on Friday night if oh man, Warriors, Wolves, Steph Curry's out. Why do I care? So that to me is the much bigger thing they got to figure out.
Listen, everyone has their pet issue that they're perturbed by when it comes to the NBA. For some, it's load management. For some, it's 3-point shots. For Hayes, it's that the Clippers exist for some reason. Like, everybody kind of has their thing. So what's your thing? Let us know on YouTube, youtube.com/@LockedOnNBA. Make sure to leave your comments. And I'm going to start gathering them up. I want to read a few of them tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get podcasts, including on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Enjoy tonight's action. Be kind to each other, and we're going to see you right back here to wrap up the week with our favorite things of the week on Locked On NBA.
Best win of the season.